haven't seen this probably since then, so I'm just going to read it for you guys. But just so you know, I have a little more background, and I learned a lot doing it, so I'm just going to read it. All right, so Richard Arthur Ahlstrom, or Dick Ahlstrom, was born on June 5th, 1925, at the Methodist Hospital in Brooklyn, New York. He was the first Richard of his family, but had an uncle named Arthur. He was born to Albert William Ahlstrom and Grace Elizabeth O'Hara. He has an older brother named Albert Warren Ahlstrom, who was born in 1924, and a sister named Winifred Grace Ahlstrom, who was the youngest, born in 1928. My grandfather's father's family came from Kalmarland, which is in the southern part of Sweden. His grandfather, Gustav, his mother, and their one-year-old daughter Hilda took a ship in 1882 to the United States. When they arrived, Gustav and his mother got sick, and his brother also got sick after they visited him. The mother and the brother died while his grandfather went to the hospital. Meanwhile, his grandfather's brother's wife got upset, thinking she would get sick like her husband, so they threw Grandma and Hilda out of the house to Brooklyn. Grandma had to take a long walk through the streets of Brooklyn to the King's Country Hospital to visit Grandpa. His mother's family was Irish. Thomas O'Hara, her father, was a builder who was married with 8 children. His wife died, and then he remarried a Pennsylvania Dutch woman. Their daughter Grace, Richard's mother, was born in Sherman, Connecticut. His family did not come through Ellis Island because it hadn't even opened yet. His great-grandparents just landed at the dock. His great-great-great-grandfather was a soldier in the cavalry of the Swedish army. Before the family came generations after, their name was changed from Ahlstrom to Ahlstrom. An interesting fact that we can trace back our family tree to 1495. When my grandfather's father was 14, he started working as an apprentice to a diamond cutter. When he turned 22, he was making $125 a week in that business, when the average wage people were making was $10. During World War II, he was sent to France after volunteering in the army. He drove ammunition trucks in 2 battles, and when he came back, he continued his work as a diamond cutter. A recession struck in 1922, and the diamond business was failing, so he lost his job. So he joined the police force instead and worked for 20 years until retiring and moving to the Catskills at 64. His grandmother died when his mother was 2 or 3 years old. She was raised by her stepsister Mildred in Newborough, where her father was a builder. She moved to New York City with he moved to New York City with his other stepsister Winnie when she was an older teenager. After working at various jobs, she then married Richard's father at 25, and his father was 27. Big history here. In 1978, his mom died, and in 1993, his dad followed. This was not his first experience with death, as grandparents, aunts, uncles had died previously, but his parents were the closest one in the family to die. The person Dick remembers first passing was his grandma, Matilda. As a child growing up in Brooklyn, he played many games in the streets because there weren't that many cars there. These games included stickball, kick the can, hide and seek, and one-a-cat. They were always having fun outside. He also loved eating his favorite dessert that his mother would make, a coffee cake made of cardamom seeds. He had many friends in school, but his best friends would probably have been his siblings. In high school, Dick participated on the football and track teams. He started to play the violin at age 9, taking lessons, and continued on until he turned 16, and he still plays now. There was a fife and a drum corps at the church he attended that he took an interest in. He joined the band, starting as a drummer, then switched over to play the fife. Just a 2-instrument group was getting boring, so he got involved playing the clarinet in the regular band. And one quote by Dick, "My first job experience was working with my father and building a new cellar because we didn't have one back then. We dug all the dirt out with a shovel and made a big pile in our backyard, and every once in a while we would get rid of it. We also made a pathway of cobblestones in front of our house. I remember even making our own cement. This didn't lead into any future professions, however, but he said it made him strong. Another job he had was when he was working as a teenager in his uncle's deli in Staten Island. My grandfather was drafted in 1943 for World War II. After basic training, he went to Fordham University for the Army Specialized Training Program. When he was there, he got sick with appendicitis. All the soldiers he was training with were sent to Battle of the Bulge, where almost everyone was either wounded or killed. We were so lucky that fate helped us to prevent him from going there. When he came back, since nothing was left for him to do, he went to the Staten Island Area Station Hospital for 2 years, where he ran a small training shop. During his Army years, an additional fact was that he was also night blind, like his father. Although this did not excuse him, it was a disadvantage, but he didn't think so. For example, when there was a gas mess drill, the fellows hated it because they couldn't see anything. But that never frustrated me because I couldn't see anything anyway, he stated. He met my grandmother, Mary Agnes Donnelly Powers, or Meme, in the late 1950s. She had been widowed recently when her husband, William Powers, had died in a car accident on July 4th, 1956. She had 2 small children and was 3 months pregnant with a third when he passed away. They met when they were both working for the Daily News. She was working nights in the circulation department, and he was working in another area. Once he had proposed, he suggested to research houses in Stamford, New Rochelle, and other rural areas. Since she had lived in Queens for most of her life, she simply responded, "You're not going to bury me in the country." And that was it. They finally bought a house in Larchmont, New York, and raised kids there before moving elsewhere. They were wed on February 1st, 1959, a nice day that was sunny and cold. He described his wedding day as very good. Meme cried at the wedding, and she didn't eat anything at the reception because she was so nervous. After the events were over, we stopped and I bought her a hot dog. That's when she knew I was a wonderful guy. For their honeymoon, they went skiing in Canada, and it was Meme's first time ever to ski. As my grandfather described it, she was a goer, to go her first time skiing on her honeymoon, but she did excellent. He remembers telling her to bend her knees, and her response being, "If you say that once more, I'll scream." After they got back, he showed her videos of her skiing, and it turns out he was right. In the end, Meme became an outstanding skier, and they went very frequently while raising their kids. As for my grandpa's education, he went to public school 222 for grade school. He enjoyed every year of his schooling and thought all of his teachers were good. In the years of the Great Depression, he reminisced that all the students wore the same clothes, so even if they were having trouble financially, they were still equal to all the other kids. He definitely agreed with this system, and he had an excellent principal that enforced that rule. After graduating, he attended Brooklyn College in the summer, and then was drafted to the Army from there. Once he completed his service, he went back and graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in History. Then he concentrated on going to Wagner College in Staten Island at night to take a few courses. He then went on a bicycling trip in Europe for 10 months, which interrupted his education. But then to finish up, he went to Carnegie Tech for 2 years and earned a Bachelor of Science before going back to the Daily News. Did he have any regrets? I don't think so, he replied. Mary and I had a wonderful life. We skied the Alps many, many times. I enjoyed sports, skiing, bicycle riding, tennis, cross-country skiing, and music, especially playing in symphony orchestras and in folk music groups. We thoroughly enjoyed ballroom dancing. I danced my way through life. So, happy 90th birthday.
It just goes to show how well a young kid can write today. And it always amazes me how great the young folks are today. But I'm going to take some time, because I'm known for being very quiet, and I never say very much. But on my 90th birthday, I'm going to take the next hour Now, I've been lucky. I have been lucky all of my life. I'm lucky that I had 2 great parents who taught me a lot of things. I'm lucky that I went to a grammar school with a great teacher who also had all the kids learn a lot of great things. And the one thing I remember, and let's see, it must be only 80 years ago that I had to say it, was my school pledge. I will be loyal to public school 222. In thought, word, and deed. I will come promptly every day. I will move quietly about the hallways. I will do what is right, because it is the right thing to do. That was the first motto in my life. Well, my father and mother were also very